Welcome, Trekkies and Trekkers, to another episode of Treknicity, the show where we talk about, of course, our favorite subject, Star Trek. And if you haven't seen it, I am wearing the pride flag for any bold and brave Trekkie or Trekker. There you go. Look at that. Love it. Love it. I'm Lars. I'm one of your hosts.
And I'm Brandon, the other host.
I'm telling you, it's Sunday, and I don't think I'm with it all the way because it's a holiday weekend, and I'm like, but it's all right. So we are going to do something a little bit different right now. Right now, we are actually post broadcasting this as opposed to doing live like we normally do because Brandon has something come up this afternoon which interferes with our normal broadcast schedule. So we figured, hey, we'll do it in post production because that always works, right? Yeah.
That's what they do in Hollywood.
That's right. You can always fix it in post, which is a lie, an absolute lie. So what you're watching right now is pre-recorded. I should put it up there. Pre-recorded. No. In this episode, we are going to, of course, talk about Star Trek Strange New Worlds Episode 4, Memento Mori.
Memento Mori.
In this episode, I was a little bit afraid that they were going to break canon, but they didn't, because I should have faith in these people, because the last 3 episodes so far have proven to be nothing less than spectacular.
I was thinking that too. I was like, are they going to show them? Because they don't show, the first time they show them is with Kirk, right?
Correct, yeah. We'll get to that in a little bit. But the Enterprise crew comes face to face with the deadly Gorn in this episode. So let's just.
Oh, go ahead.
No, that's all right. I was saying the idea is that we will talk about everything in this episode, but before I do anything, I will get down to the pain of the karmas.
Gotta have that karma.
That's right. So, as we've started doing, and if you watched the last few episodes, you noticed that we've started doing a little bit of cross promotion with some of our friends, and in fact, this coming week on the 1st of June, the episode airing the 1st of June, Brandon and I are going to be joining our fellow podcasters, the Irreverent Nerds, for their podcast, which is cool because it's the first time we've ever been asked to do something like this. And
it's exciting.
I'm excited. So,
me too.
That being said, as you can see here, we have the Irreverent Nerds. They have been very vocal, very supportive, and and it's been awesome seeing these guys come along and kind of get their footing and everything. They are doing their podcast. They do it every Wednesday. Richard and Will cover a plethora of geek-related topics, and if you want to check it out, you can see them you can follow them on Instagram at irreverent_nerd. That's IRREVERENT_nerd, and so check them out.
Nerd alert.
Yep. Next on the list, one of my personal favorites, Starship Tempest. I know you were going to say that. Yeah, I know I'm a little sad. I'm a little sad because they will be taking a break, a season 2 break, after their next mission, which this coming Wednesday will be the first part of a 2-part mission episode. And then they'll take a break. And after that, during the break, we're actually going to have them here on Treknicity, where we're going to be shooting some questions at them and finding out how they kind of came to be and sharing their love for Star Trek, and also having them tell us and you guys a little bit more about their actual role-playing game, which is based in the Star Trek Adventures universe. So if you want to check them out, you can go to starshiptempest.com, or you can do like we do and join them on Patreon. Become a patron and you get the episodes early. Go to patreon.com/starshiptempest. And last but certainly not least, our friends over in Star Trek We Trust. They are, of course, a Star Trek-based podcast. And these guys, I've been watching their show off and on. They've been here on Twitch as well. And it's just, it's really fun to watch these guys too, because one is like a real gamer, and one's just kind of like a more I guess broad-based nerd, if you like, and
Renaissance nerd.
Yeah, Renaissance nerd, classical nerd. How about that? Yeah. And yeah, they talk about obviously all things Star Trek, and yeah, it's really cool to give them a view, give them a listen. You can see them here on the screen. You can see them on Twitter at Star Trek We Trust, Instagram at In Star Trek We Trust Podcast, and of course, twitch.tv/In Star Trek We Trust. All right. And thank you again to those fine folks who give us lots of love and make
lots of delicious karma.
That's right. And also make this Star Trek related community even better. All right. Now, as we say, let's get down to the rat killing. All right. Season
Memento
1.
Mori.
Season 1, episode 4. Of course, they have continued to fulfill their promise by presenting us with a / monster or planet of the week story, continuing on that episodic tilt. In this episode, we see the Enterprise is on their way to deliver basically a giant nuclear powered air conditioner, which who wouldn't want one of those, to a Federation colony. They get there and find out, ruh-roh, something's wrong. Something bad happened here.
Ruh-roh.
In the end, they get down there. They find out something bad happened. There's basically find nobody. They get back up to the ship, find out, there's a ship there, and it looks like some of the colonists managed to beat feet and get away. They are in trouble. They need to be rescued. The Enterprise zips over, puts out the giant space bridge, and connects to their ship. And the reason why they don't, the reason why they don't beam them over, I believe, is because they tell them that there's something that they handle that could affect with the transporter. So it's best just to kind of bring them on over, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, and I really like the title of this episode. It fits into the episode perfectly. I don't know if you know what Memento Mori means. It's kind of like everybody dies in Italian. It's like this saying, like, you're eventually going to die. And, spoiler warnings if no one has seen it, but some people do die.
Yeah.
And they kind of have to deal with that.
And thank you for reminding me about the spoiler warning. You know what? I think I should just put a banner on the screen for the entire episode. It just says spoiler warning. Have it like a red alert.
Or
thing,
maybe add it to the splash screen, right after the splash screen. Spoiler warning.
Yeah.
What you're about to hear is
it's full of spoilers.
Yeah.
That's right. A lot of people don't like it because they're like, I want to watch it. I don't want to be spoiled. To me, I think there's some things that I absolutely don't want to be spoiled on. Sorry.
Yeah.
But most of the time, I'm fine because if I'm interested enough to watch it, I'm gonna watch it regardless of whether it gets spoiled or not.
It's about the journey. It's about the story.
Exactly. So while they are bringing them over, they kind of figured things out. They talked to Laan, Noonien Singh, who has had experience as a child with the Gorn. Even though she's never seen them, her whole basically family was slaughtered by the Gorn, and they examine some of her history with the brace later on in the episode. So they're getting the people moved over. We have Una, number 1, and sorry, who else was in the bridge with her? Was it Laan or was it Ortega's that was with her doing the evacuations?
It was just number 1 and soon.
Okay. Noonien Singh. Okay.
Yeah,
I thought so. So, and the other thing is, guys, one thing that's a little bit different is that normally what we would do is we would come home from work on a Thursday, we'd watch the show and have everything really fresh in our minds, and and then we just go straight into it. So I apologize in advance if I kind of blank on a couple of the details. It has been a few days.
I just watched it last night
Oh,
for the first time, so
well, then
it'll be a little fresher in mine.
you're gonna be the facts man. Um, with so what happens? They realize, the Gorn. It's the Gorn. A Gorn ship comes out of nowhere. Basically starts blasting the Enterprise. They hit the space bridge, start blowing it to pieces. And
I love their ship. Their ships are pretty cool looking.
Yeah,
I like how it's like not every ship in space is going to be the same. So some are going to be weird and crazy, and their ships are super crazy.
Yeah, and actually on that note, they were very, very faithful to every design of the Gorn ship we've ever seen. But one thing that they have been able to do since we don't use models anymore and they use just the graphics, they can make things move a lot faster, more smoothly. So this thing looks like it's a whip little fighter, and it's just kicking ass.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It basically, for the most part, hands the Enterprise its ass. And
yeah, we find out that they're like super tactical. Like apparently the Gorn are very strategic in the way that they fight, or apparently they set this trap up just specifically for a starship to come and try and rescue these people.
Exactly. And that is something that they've done traditionally. We've seen in Star Trek is that they've done a lot of. It's been a lot of the whole. Setting traps for them to come and get them. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in relation to the original series where we first see the Gorn. But in this attack, the space bridge is basically destroyed. Una is severely injured. She's critically injured, almost mortally injured in this attack. But because of the damage to the ship, they get her to sick bay and all the systems are offline. So one thing that was really cool is that, yes, you have all this fantastic advanced medical equipment, but if the computer's offline or if the systems are down, they're basically, they're glorified paperweights. So they have to revert to actually using, like triaged medicine, field medicine. I mean, her injuries were really bad because she got some shrapnel in her abdomen and everything, and they thought she was going to go for it.
When I was watching that scene where they're like, "Oh, we ran out of supplies. We can't make any more because the replicators are down." It really, I had to pause the show because I was like deep diving into the replicators. I was thinking, so because I don't know how it works. Like, do they have like, we need to refill it with Matt. What do they refill the replicators with? Do they have like basic components that they need to make every single thing in the universe? Yeah. Or does it just take like, you have like a single atom and it replicates from that one atom or something like that? Like,
it's from what I understand,
do they need like a little bit of lead? Do they need a little bit of like metal? Do they need a little bit of bioorgasms? Like what
bioorgasms are well, that's always needed on a starship when you're out there for years. Okay, but that's not a topic we'll deep dive on.
Bioorganics, that's what I meant.
Yeah. To answer your question, from what I've known over the years and what I've read, is basically the replicators that make everything. They use a raw material that is made up of synthetics and actual raw biological or organic materials. And in fact, actually, this is kind of on the gross side. But they talk about the food replicators. Well, they don't have a endless supply of materials.
How do they refill it?
So they have to recycle it, and the food replicators recycle everything. Everything.
Dead body.
Yeah. So
Soylent Green.
Yeah. Starship food is Soylent Green.
They're like, there's like 7 people died in this episode. They're like, sweet, more fuel for the replicators.
Looks like meat's back on the menu, boys.
Meat's back on the menu.
I know that's just terrible, but no, I mean, as far as like,
no, that makes, because I was thinking like there should be an episode where they need to run for supplies or something, or they need and
they do
for materials for the replicator.
They do. I mean, they do resupply with the basic components they need. Because like water and stuff like that, they have to they'll have to resupply on, and they have to resupply on like deuterium, which is the fuel for the warp engines.
Yeah, warp engines. Yeah.
Which is what deuterium is, what the which mixes with antimatter, which then creates the reaction, which the with the dilithium crystals then channel and filter and make into lots of power. But they do
that. Sorry for getting sidetracked. I just thought that was what I was thinking last night when I had to pause. I was like, wait a minute.
But no, it's actually a good point because they treated it very well, because they're like, oh, we got tons of supplies to make what we need. The problem is the machines that make it are busted. And to that effect, speaking of busted, Chief Engineer Hammer and Cadet Uhura are in the shuttle bay because they were preparing to basically drop off this giant nuclear powered air conditioner. And I know it's an air filtration system, but don't don't yuck my yum, man. But so they're getting ready to go, and of course they get attacked. The Enterprise was not, for the most part, isn't prepared to take on these Gorn ships. I mean, they were outgunned, so the damage to the ship, Engineer Hemmer gets injured. He, Uhura has to help him up, but he's busted his hand
gets busted up.
And of course,
they show his hand. It's all like
blue, and we had the blue blood, which was great. Again, I know this is low hanging fruit stuff, but it's good that they get these basics right all the time.
Yeah. The details matter.
The only, I know I'm going to meander for just a second here, is that the only thing for me, which I guess, like, if I had seen it now, it would make a ton of sense to me. But because, I come from a generation that grew up watching the reruns of the original series, the size of everything is so much larger than it was in the original series. And
that's one thing that throws me off as well.
Yeah, I do get it. I mean, like right now for our time, like how we interpret things, it makes a lot of sense that it looks right. But if you go back and if you're trying to maintain a modicum of the original series, then it's a little off-putting, just a little bit.
That's exactly what I had. Like when they were sitting around a table discussing what their next move was, and the only thing I could think of is like, man, they are all like super far apart from each other. Yeah. Like this meaty mission table is huge. It's like in TNG, like everyone's like right next to each other in chairs.
Yeah.
But here they're all like spread out, like it's COVID out in space, and they're like, there's this giant ship. They're spread out far apart from each other, and it's like,
right. And when they're talking,
it's like huge. This ship is gigantic.
And when they're talking about Uhura, or when they're talking to Uhura and Dr. Mbenga, the one thing I noticed is they're looking up. They're looking up at their camera, and I'm like, did the designer of the ship put the webcams like all up there just to make them look up? Like what was he, like 15 feet tall? And he's just there, because they're all looking up. Like I get it. I get it. Maybe it's just just a design aesthetic, and I know
how
some
great
people.
The show is. It's just like these little tiny things that are just like
okay, whatever.
That's it. That's it. That's the only bad thing I can think of.
Right now, anybody who knows me and knows how much I don't like Discovery, and a lot of it comes down to not just the CBS melodrama formatting, but also the fact that they really felt the need to make everything look super modern, and places where like they didn't take any effort at all to make it look like it was around the time of Captain Pike. The ship had Elcar's touchscreens and things like that.
Or the thing that Spock looks into when he has to look down.
Yeah.
Like
it's
that
there.
was in the original series, and now it's here. It's
and
in
also,
this one too.
if you notice, if you notice Ortega's station, which is typically in the original series, which is where Sulu sits, they have the viewer thing there on the side as well. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Yes, I guess you could call me a little bit of a hypocrite because I accept the more polished look of the Enterprise than I do of the Discovery, but ultimately if you look how they lay it out, I mean, a lot of it is still very tactile. And, it's not touch screen for the most part. It's
all buttons and switches that you gotta do.
So yeah, I mean, I can understand if people don't necessarily agree with me, but I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that middle ground, because it's still,
you got to make it modern for new people.
Yeah, it kept the feel. It kept the spirit of what we used to watch. Again, the only thing for me that was really kind of out of left field is just the scale of everything. You would think a starship that holds 400 and some odd people, the engineering section would be huge, and it would be. I mean, it's like it is one of the biggest areas of the ship, because that's the most important places of the ship. That's the powerhouse. That's everything.
But in this show, it's gigantic.
Yeah, like a warehouse. It's like, man, okay, all right. It's just.
But yeah, that's just these little things. That's the only gripes that we have about this show.
Right.
It's just tiny little stuff.
But one thing,
still freaking great.
I say that they make up for it. They more than make up for it by great. Like the writing, the storytelling.
Yes. The great stories and the great characters,
right?
The actors, like they make way more than make up for it.
Yeah. So we have, we go back to the story, or the recap portion of it. You've got Una, who's in sick bay. She is critically wounded. You have Hemmer and Uhura in the shuttle bay, where Hemmer is seriously injured. His hand is injured to the point where he can't operate the air filtration unit, which is offline, and they basically, she has to be walked through it, which is cool because, again, one of the things I love about what they're doing with these characters is they are spending a lot of time building that foundation and the backstory for these characters that we've known for many years, and in a way that kind of fits with what they what we've known, what we've seen, know. So we've always known that Uhura is a great singer, and there's this thing where they integrated that into episode 2, Children of the Comet. Here they're kind of they're still playing off the fact that she is a cadet and that she is scared of what's going on. And like that works. It helps you empathize with the character more. And it does nothing but raise the show's raise my opinion of the show by doing these little things. So far, my favorite character in the entire show is Hemmer. The dude is a consummate smartass, and he's like I'm smarter than you, and I know it. Even if he doesn't, if he isn't smarter than you, he's got the bravado that goes with it, and he's got that. And that was actually, it's because his race is Enar, which is the sub-Andorian race. We saw the same kind of attitude in Enterprise when Archer went to Andoria and they met the Enar for the first time and all that stuff, and that same kind of attitude. So Bruce Horak does a phenomenal job of playing the Enar's sense of superiority. So she they're going through that. They're she's trying to figure out how to turn this thing off or figure it out so they can use it and all that jazz.
Because they're in this giant cloud of whatever, and it's taxing the filters, so everyone's sweating and hot, and they need this AC back on.
Exactly. They were in the atmosphere of a brown dwarf star, which the reason why the brown dwarf star is letting off all this stuff that's affecting him is because we find out the brown dwarf is on the edge of a black hole. It's getting sucked into a singularity, which you're like, oh crap, and the Enterprise, to their credit, make use of this, kind of like Kirk did in the Mutara Nebula in Star Trek II, where they know that the background radiation, everything going on, would interfere with sensors, so the Gorn wouldn't be able to use their sensors to see them. So what they do is, again, they demonstrate their knowledge and understanding of three-dimensional combat by moving above them and not firing their weapon, but just basically opening the door and let the torpedoes fall out.
That's so crazy that
he comes up. He's like, all right, now get it, open up and
that was so
and
cool.
drop and they just drop out and land on this Gorn ship and blow it to pieces.
And then Spock uses his little viewer to be like, "Yep, got him."
Yep.
That's so funny that you said that. The Mutar Nebula. I was hanging out with my family yesterday, and my uncle, he was like, "What was that thing that Spock says when he says the nebula?" I was like, "The Mutar Nebula." And he's like, yeah. And he was thinking, for some reason, he was thinking about that scene, and now you just said it, the Mutar Nebula.
Yeah, and so it plays in with what we've seen these characters work with before in the past, which is again really cool. I love it. And so they take it out, but we find out that Gorn ship they blew up was bait. It was it was further bait. So that, because what happens is they blow this one up, and suddenly, two more, and a big brother shows up. Yeah. This massive, like a Gorn battle cruiser shows up, and they realize, we're screwed. If so they talk about strategies, how to outsmart these things. They don't use their weapons, which is cool. They figure out, because La'an, Noonien, and Singh, again, as I mentioned earlier in the episode, it was revealed in the very first episode that her whole family was kidnapped and tortured and basically exterminated by the Gorn. In fact, they used
for food.
They used her family for food on a Gorn breeding planet, which in itself is just creepy as hell. But,
yeah, seriously.
Yeah, so I don't know how you get over that one, but okay.
It's like that scene in Aliens where all those humans are all stuck and they have the pods in front of them, like they're just used for the babies.
Yep, just to breed the xenomorphs, and so.
Oh yeah, so she goes on a ship with Spock.
Yeah, so they figure out
they're like, let's go peek, let's take a look.
Yeah,
out of this cloud.
And have a look and see what's going on, see how they could best use it to their advantage. While they're on the shuttle, which of course they use the Galileo, which is awesome. They talk. She talks with Spock about, look, I had this experience, but I can't remember, what we learned about them. So Spock does a mind meld with her, and she's able to. She's able to go back and I guess review her memories of that time, and she remembers.
When he did that, I immediately was like, "My mind to your mind," and then he said, "I was like, oh, thank God he said it." I'm so glad that they're keeping that too.
Oh yeah, and
my mind to your mind, my thoughts to your thoughts.
No. I see we're equally matched. I'll see you in court. Sorry for the South Park reference there, but hey, so he basically helps her tap into her memories when she was a child on this Gorn breeding planet, and she realizes that her brother had been observing them and had made a little reference to their language.
Cheat sheet.
Yep. And she realizes that he noted that basically the Gorn are like, it's survival of the fittest. If the strongest will survive. And
they speak in Morse code.
Yes. Effectively, yeah. When they get back to it, they're like, okay, we got it. So La'an goes and effectively uses the ship, to force the Gorn to say something. To force one Gorn ship to say to the other something like that made him look weak. So
yeah.
So the other one
said like, the humans are on this ship.
We've
been boarded.
and so immediately the other one blasts them to pieces. So now we're down. Now we're down to two. effectively, through cunning from Captain Pike and the crew, they managed to take out. They've got
one more
one
little
more.
ship.
Yeah, they get one more blasted and done, which is great. Then they were like,
they fly too close to they're like, let's go closer to the
right.
to
So
the black hole.
Well, they go deeper into the brown dwarf's atmosphere. And of course you hear the groaning of the superstructure on the ship. The hull is creaking because of the pressures. Well, the Gorn can't they can't pass up the temptation to come and chase after their prey, and they can't hold on, so they implode.
That was a really cool scene.
They crash like a tin
amazing.
can.
Yeah.
So all that's left is the battle cruiser, and they know that they're not going to trick this one so much with the basic stuff. They have to do something to get it to go away for good, because they know they can't take it on. So what they do is they turn around and they say, okay, let's talk about what they call redshift, which is where effectively the closer you get to the gravitational bend of a quantum singularity or black hole, it appears to make whatever you're trying to or whatever's there appear to stop moving, because the way the light waves bend and everything, it looks like it's basically not moving at all. So with the whole thing, they with Hemmer's help, Uhura actually gets the air filtration system repaired, but it shorts out, and they realize, oh, we got like just a few minutes. This thing is gonna pop like a frog on a hot plate, and they realize, okay, well, we got to get rid of it. So during this whole thing about when they're talking about the red shift and being able to, I guess, fool the Gorn ship, they get as close as they can to the edge of the black hole. They drop the air filtration system out by blowing out the airlock, and they put on their environmental suits. They attach themselves to the hull, and they basically blow the atmosphere of the shuttle pod so it goes flying out. And of course, you have this whole tense moment for a minute or two where you wonder, are they gonna, is somebody gonna get blown out into space? Are we gonna lose a character already? Yada yada yada. And then of course they don't. They drop it. The thing explodes. The Gorn only observe an explosion. They don't see the Enterprise, so they think, oh, it blew up, and they beat feet.
Yeah.
So thankfully, after that, they were able to get the Enterprise out and start, heading off to get repaired. And and that's the other thing, is that for the first time in a TV series, the Enterprise, not counting the show Enterprise, but the actual Constitution class Enterprise, for the first time, it looks like the thing has had its ass handed to it. I mean, it is limping along. I'm surprised they don't have some of the crew out there getting behind and pushing. And I mean, so we'll back up a little bit to the whole part with they know they have to do some surgery on Una to get the shrapnel out and to help repair the damage, but they're going to have to do so with basically 21st century methods. They're going to have to go in there and perform surgery on her and suture her up, as opposed to just like using auto sutures and all the advanced equipment they have to do that with. So they want to put her out, and they're like, well, here, we got anesthesia that can put you out, but we only got one left, and there's like somebody else who's like hurt way worse. So in typical hero fashion, they tell them, don't, I'll just take the pain, you give it to them so they can help them. And so she basically gets worked on, sewn up, and she passes out from the pain. When she wakes up later on, she realizes that she is getting a blood transfusion from Dr. Mabenga, because there's like this thing on her arm and a thing on his arm, and his tube going, you can see blood flowing from him to her. And in typical fashion, I sit there and I start singing, my blood is your blood is my blood. And my wife is looking at me like, please stop. I'm gonna hurt you in your sleep. I'm gonna put a Star Trek pillow over your face. Uh, and but we see that we see the heroes survive because they're the heroes, but not everybody survives. When the Enterprise was getting a pounding, people, like, there was one person, like Kyle, was almost caught in a busting bulkhead, a depressurized deck. Like they said, the lower decks are depressurizing, and one of the other crew members pushes Kyle through the door right before it seals, and he gets blown out there, or out the deck when it collapses.
He's like, "You got to keep going. You're actually credited on the show."
Yeah, people know who your character is. We can't let you die. The fans will be pissed if we let somebody from the original series die. Push him through.
So he pushes him and saves him.
Yeah. But I think it was, in the end, it was seven souls were lost in that attack. And you got to think, in a crew of just a little over 400 people, that's a lot. I mean, 7 people, that's no joke. I mean, hell, one person's no joke, but it's just like, you're like, okay, they're not gonna tiptoe around the idea of people dying. It's gonna happen.
Memento Mori.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one thing, and I know I mentioned earlier in the episode that the idea is that they don't show us the Gorn because they're.
Yeah, I was like,
I was
kind of hoping a little bit, because I was like, I want to see what they look like with the modern, with CGI and all that.
I mean, it'd be okay. Yeah, it'd be okay if they'd shown it to us, as long as they didn't show them to the crew. But I thought, all right, you know what? They're not going to show us.
They didn't need to show them.
Yeah,
it was still like a scary, tense.
Yeah, you knew that these guys meant business, and for those not in the know, the first time in canon that we see the Gorn on screen is in the original series episode Arena, where Kirk and a Gorn captain are teleported to Cestus 3, and they basically have to duke it out. In fact, this episode is even parodied in the movie Galaxy Quest, when Captain Taggart has to go down to the planet and he's fighting the rock monster, and this whole thing, like, guy gets on the line and he goes, you have to look around, you'll have to construct a rudimentary lathe. And he's like, get on the line, guy. But of course, filmed at Vasquez Canyon, or Vasquez Rocks. Sorry, my apologies, Vasquez Rocks. Like the first time we see the Gorn on screen is the dude in the rubber suit from the original series. So of course that led to the memes, with the Gorn captain now being used in Star Trek memes online right now, which is funny. But I always, like, for me, somebody posted the picture of it, and I was like, and somebody said caption us, so I put a caption that says, "Oh, that's just Greg. We don't talk about him very much." Yeah, because like, why does that guy not look like the rest of you? Oh, it's just Greg. We don't talk about him a whole lot. kind of like the joke where in the DS9 episode Trials and Tribulations, where they go back in time and they're like, who are these guys? They're Klingons. What do you mean they're Klingons? Well, we don't talk about it.
Well, why do they look like you? We don't talk about that.
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious too.
Yeah, Ixnay on the Ingon clay. But yeah, no, I mean, overall impressions, again, very happy with the story. Loving how they're continuing to approach this as a traditional Star Trek episodic series. I'm sure we will see elements return later on. I mean, there is still the overarching story of Pike dealing with his knowledge of the fact that in 10 years or so he's going to become Captain Melty Face, and all that stuff. So I'm sure, I'm sure we'll see more of that as we go along. But still, as long as they maintain the episodic format, I think
what they're doing, great,
yeah,
another great episode.
Well, I mean, and the thing is, obviously, the people who made it, or Paramount, was so impressed with what they saw prior to the series premiering that they renewed the show for a second
Oh yeah.
season before a single episode ever aired.
Yeah, that's when you can tell, like, oh, they know they have a hit on their hands.
Yeah, they knew it.
And they do. It's like, this is the number one, like the most watched, like, or best rated Star Trek show of all the shows,
Of
all
all
the
time.
movies.
I
Yeah, of
mean,
all time.
it was the first series to be certified fresh on
Yeah,
Rotten Tomatoes
rightly
with a
so. It's
98%
amazing.
approval rating. Like, wow. And
Yeah.
that's not to take anything away from those who came before them.
No, obviously
It just
not.
goes to
It's
show
just,
that the people who make this show learned a lot from
yeah,
what they saw and the stories, and
yeah,
they cherry picked all the great aspects of Star Trek and put it
yeah,
together and brought us home finally for the first time in
yeah.
ages. Um, you know,
They figured it out. Figured out the formula.
I think they managed to apply enough of a salve with Lower Decks to kind of ease over the I guess the divide that existed with fans over Discovery and whatnot, and also to a lesser degree, but still with Picard, how there was a division in the fandom, and they were able to kind of smooth that over a little bit with Lower Decks, which made it kind of like, I got us laughing again. And then they bring in Strange New Worlds, and I'm telling you, I dare say this. I may be a little unpopular by saying this, but so far, my favorite incarnation of Pike is Anson Mount.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, I love the fact that they they started to explore the backstory of the character of number one. And it gave her a name, and then of course they brought in other characters with that still showed the diversity that exists in this this, I guess, neo utopia, future of Star Trek. I can only imagine what Gene Roddenberry would be saying right now if he were still alive, and how much he would like the new series and whatnot, and whether he would be thinking it's in line with his original vision, which I really haven't seen much in the way of reactions from, like, say, the original cast. But I'm sure that they are enjoying seeing these new stories as well. Yeah, and I mean, I'm looking forward, to seeing what happens in the next episode, because I know at first I thought, oh, they're going to Vulcan, because there's a scene they show with Spock on Vulcan, but I don't think it's not what it seems. I think there's gonna be something that we're gonna find it's something else entirely, but it's gonna be interesting to see what happens, and I'm looking forward to getting back in there. I do want to say, I think that whoever decided to have all this stuff sort of drop at once is gonna be scratching their head, because this whole weekend has been insanely busy for television watching, because of course on Thursday we had Strange New Worlds, and on Friday the first 2 episodes of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series drops on Disney Plus, and then on the same day drops 7 new episodes of Stranger Things.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
It's like, yeah.
Okay, guys.
It's like Nerd's Paradise right now.
Like, I guess I'm not going outside this weekend.
Yeah.
So,
what did you think of Obi-Wan? Did you watch it?
I did.
Real quick.
Yeah. Overall, very excited to see where it goes. I didn't, to be honest with you, I don't know if I knew what to expect. So I wasn't disappointed by anything. I was more like, okay, I mean, we know certain things, so we know certain things aren't going to happen.
Yeah.
But where are they going to go with it? And this, like, I actually will not spoiler what I've seen on the Obi-Wan series, But there's a couple of really cool little nods um, and
There's
well, sorry. There is one thing I will say. There's one piece of little spoiler. We get to see a very young little Miss Princess Leia, little Princess Leia on Alderaan. Jimmy Smits does return, does reprise his role as Bail Organa, and she gets to basically run away from like 1/4 of the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah, I was like, flee? I don't know. I thought it's like they just throw cannon out the window or something. I don't know. It's like there's some things that just don't make sense. You're like, okay, so she did meet Obi-Wan and knows who he is, but then pretends later on that she doesn't know who he is later on. Like, Ben, you served with my father, not Ben, you rescued me.
Yeah, and the thing is, you know that they write themselves.
Are they going to wipe her memory? What?
Take her
like the droids.
Yeah, take the princess to Anchorhead and have her memory erased.
Yeah, like what?
Wait, what? What?
I don't know. But, it was okay in some parts, but other parts it was like, I wasn't as impressed as I was with Strange New Worlds.
Yeah, see, I haven't seen Strange New Worlds yet. Or, sorry, Strange New Worlds. So I was thinking Stranger Things. I haven't seen Stranger Things yet.
I haven't
but
either.
With the Obi-Wan series, there was one piece at the very end where we get to see a certain Sith Lord in his bacta tank.
Oh, yeah.
That was pretty cool.
I can't wait to see him.
Okay, now we're going. Let's see what happens. So I'll definitely I will definitely watch the series, and we'll go from there.
It just reminded me that we need Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. Executive producing, because they weren't involved with this one.
Yeah, and I know
you can tell.
I think there's another Star Wars series that's due to drop. I want to say in September of this year. I don't remember what it was called. I saw just a brief flash of it yesterday, and I was like, oh, I'll come back and look at that. But I did notice that they said they were planning on it premiering in September. And I'm like, all right, well, here we go. Push forward and go with it. So we'll see how it goes. All right. Well, that is all the time we have for this episode of Treknicity. Thank you for everybody who is watching this and continuing to give us feedback and just giving us the support and everything. Next week, as I said before, you will see Brandon and I. We will be appearing on the Irreverent Nerds podcast, where we will be deconstructing the episode I, Borg, where we see an individual Borg for the first time, the one who becomes Hugh, that ends up showing up in Star Trek Picard season 1. We'll be on there, and then right after this episode of Treknicity, I will be on Old Men Gaming with Patrick. We'll be playing Star Trek online again, and then in a couple of weeks, we're looking to be on Twin Cities Trekkies with Wes, and looking very much forward to talking about diversity, inclusivity, and acceptance in Star Trek, how it plays a greater role now than it did even when it was first intended back in the 60s. So so make sure you check us out there, and we'll see you in the next episode of Treknicity, which will touch wood, be live next week. We'll see how it goes. But anyways, thank you again very much for watching. I'm Lars.
Thank you. I'm Brandon.
And remember to always rock out with your Spock out. We'll see you next time, folks.